Good morning. Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Wake County Virtual Candidate Forum. This is for the Wake County Board of Education. My name is Naomi Lambert, and I am a League member. The League of Women Voters of Wake County is a non-partisan organization dedicated to empowering voters and defending democracy. We encourage informed and active participation in government, help citizens increase their understanding of public policy issues, and work to influence public policy through education and advocacy. As a non-partisan organization, the League of Women Voters does not endorse or oppose candidates and is proud to continue our long history of hosting candidate forums. All candidates who filed to run for the Wake County Board of Education were invited to participate in our candidate forums. Outreach included emails, phone calls, as well as certified letters inviting candidates to respond and provide citizens with an opportunity to learn about their views. Thank you to the candidates who are with us today. The Wake County Board of Education is the local governing body of the Wake County public school system. It is the largest school district in North Carolina and the 14th largest in the United States. It serves a very diverse student body and has improved its graduation rate so that almost 91% graduate from high school. Its 9 members are currently elected from 9 separate county districts. Each member represents that district within the entire board and is elected by residents of that district. This race is non-partisan, meaning that candidates are not running as representatives of a political party, and their party affiliation is not listed on the ballot. The school board sets policy for the school system, implemented by the superintendent and administrative staff. The board also adopts an annual budget proposal that includes its request for local funding from the Wake County Board of Commissioners, as well as its plan for using their allocated state and federal funds. The school board does not have taxing authority. Today, we welcome candidates Jacob Arthur, Chris Hegarty, and Katie Long. District 7 is Northwest Raleigh, including parts of Morrisville, Carey, and North Raleigh. All districts live in District 7. Welcome, Jacob, Chris, and Katie. Thank you for joining us today. We will ask every candidate for the Wake County Board of Education the same questions. The questions will cover a range of issues relevant to the scope of the board. Before we begin, I'd like to verify with the candidates that they have not received the questions in advance. Can you confirm?
Yes.
I confirm.
I confirm as well.
Thank you. You now have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Please include in your remarks why you chose to run for school board and what makes you a good candidate for this position. Jacob Arthur, please go ahead.
Well, good morning. My name is Jacob Arthur. Thank you so much to the League of Women Voters for having this forum. And I also would like to thank Mr. Hegarty and Mrs. Long for being here as well. I am a Wake County native. Both my wife and I grew up here. We both graduated from Wake County Public Schools. We currently have 4 children, 3 of whom are in Wake County Public Schools at this time. I have a son in the 8th grade, a daughter in 6th grade, a daughter in 3rd grade, and we've got a 3-year-old who tries to run things at the house right now, but she will be in public school in a few years as well. So we as a family are extremely invested in Wake County Public Schools. My wife and I are lifelong supporters of public school. We think that our children will receive no better diversity of what is around them in the community as far as different peoples than in public schools, and that's very important to us as a family. The reason I've decided to run for this office is I am extremely concerned with the direction of the public school system as it stands now. This is not the same school system I grew up in. I'm concerned about the financial situation that the school board is in. I'm concerned about parents' involvement. I'm concerned about support for teachers. And I'm concerned about school safety, and all of those issues, as I have looked at things over the last number of years, led me to decide to run for school board at this time. I believe Mr. Hagerty has been in office since he was appointed in 2018, and things do not seem to be getting better. And so I'm looking to make a change. I'm looking to offer the voters in this district an opportunity for some steady leadership and some forward thinking, and someone who can use some imagination to deal with the issues we have coming up in the next number of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Chris Hegarty, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. I'm Chris Hagerty. I'm the vice chair of our Board of Education. I've served 4 years and I have a solid record of increasing pay for teachers and staff, building new schools in our area to reduce overcrowding, and keeping kids safe and healthy. And I'm running to continue this good work. We have a lot of important things left to do, accelerating academic recovery for the time lost by students during the pandemic, recruiting and retaining great teachers for Wake County. This is a nationwide crisis, but it's affecting us right here on our doorstep, and that has to be a top priority. And protecting all children from intolerance, harassment, and bullying. Now, I'm the parent of Wake County Public School students. I'm also a Wake County Public School graduate, and I've spent my 4 years helping parents navigate the bureaucracy to help solve problems that they're having with their individual schools, with their students. I've worked collaboratively with our community, our county commissioner, with law enforcement, with local pediatricians, health officials, to ensure the best environment for our school children. I have the experience, the temperament, and the common sense approach necessary to collaborate and work productively with others to be effective in keeping Wake County public schools the best in the state and some of the best in the nation. Being on the school board is hard work, I'll be completely honest with you, but we do this work not because it's easy, but because it's important. I have some serious concerns about the candidates who filed for this race. I'm going to try to keep it positive, but I'm also going to hold them accountable for the statements that they've made at our public forums, on social media, and things that you all as voters need to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Katie Long, would you like to make your opening statement?
Yes. I'd like to thank League of Women for hosting this forum. I'm Katie Long, mom of 2. I'm on boots on the ground and a fiscally responsible businesswoman. I'm running for Wake County School Board for District 7 because I'm confident in my ability to make a difference. As an unaffiliated candidate, I offer an independent perspective. It is the perspective of parents who want school board decisions implemented based on what's best for their families, unencumbered with any party obligations. It is the voice of these parents and families that I want to represent. I was born in Vietnam. We lost our home, our business, our savings. We lost everything after the fall of Saigon. Anyone opposed to the communist regime was subject to the horrors of persecution. In 1979, my brave father loaded my family and 30 other migrants on a boat to escape the tyranny, oppression, and violence of that regime. We crossed the Pacific Ocean with nothing but the clothes on our backs to seek refuge in Hong Kong. During the pandemic, a crisis hit close to home for me and my husband. Our daughter experienced depression from the lockdowns and school closures in summer of 2021. This moved me to get involved with the decision makers on the Wake County Board of Education starting in 2021. I made every effort to attend and make public comments at every school board meeting every other week. Our school system needs reform. Parents' voices need to be heard. Parents need to be allowed on school premises so they can be engaged in their children's education at all times and under any circumstances. Our school system needs to reinstate the fundamentals of education so that our children are equipped with the skill sets for tomorrow's workforce and to be productive members of our society. We need to bring back the fundamentals of education: reading, writing, arithmetic, bring back the quality of education. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. So now we're going to move to the question part of the forum, and you're going to have 2 minutes each on each question. So the first question, the teacher pipeline issue is in the news frequently. Fewer college students are choosing education as their major, and teachers are retiring or leaving the profession for higher pay. Wake County is currently facing a staffing shortage and reported in late August that they still needed 400 more teachers. What strategies do you think would help Wake County Public Schools recruit and retain teachers? Katie, let's start with you.
Well, let's ask ourselves, what is the current leadership doing? Why are teachers leaving in droves? The problem behind why teachers are leaving is we have to find out why, the reason behind it. It's the leadership that we have. It starts with the superintendent, our principals, area superintendent, just the entire leadership. What is the root cause of the staffing shortage? Why are teachers leaving? Is it really the pay, or is it because they're burnt out? Is it because they're wearing multiple hats? Do they not have the resources for to be teachers? I mean, they go to school and they have the certification to teach our children, and are they wearing multiple hats? And so it all trickles down to the leadership at the current school board right now. And we need to come up with a plan to retain the teachers that we do have, provide them the resources, and come up with a plan to retain them so that they don't leave and continue to teach our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Chris, would you like to go next?
Thank you. So compensation is the most important issue. North Carolina teachers don't receive adequate salaries from the legislature. Our average pay for our teachers is like, when you compare it to other states, I think we've dropped from like in the 30s to now 40th in the nation this school year. But it's not even just pay as it relates from like one state to another. When you look at the salaries that teachers make compared to other professions with similar educational requirements, North Carolina teachers make on average 25.3% less than other jobs in North Carolina with similar education experience and longevity. Like you said, fewer college students are going into education majors. A lot of it is because of the pay. Even in Wake County, where we're able to provide local supplements from our county commission to try to bring those salaries up, it's offset by the much higher cost of living we have in Wake County with our higher housing costs. And it still lags below what teachers are paid in other metro areas we compete with, like Fairfax, Virginia, Atlanta, Georgia, Nashville, Memphis, Austin. Compensation means a lot, but then the other thing, well, I should say compensation is important because teachers leave not just to teach in other states and other areas, they do leave for other professions. But in addition to compensation, there's also the issue of respect for teachers and the profession. The attacks on teachers, desires to micromanage, approve or disapprove everything that the teacher says in the classroom, and just the personal nastiness that's fallen on our teachers that they've received has led a lot of them to believe that enough is enough. You can hear what our teachers think because they come out and they tell us at our public meetings, in our work conditions surveys. We've got a lot to do, but we've made good progress. This board has, and I'll continue that work for our teachers and staff.
Thank you, Chris. Jacob, if you'd like to respond to that question.
Yeah, so personally for me, I just found out this past week that my son, who's in 8th grade, doesn't have a Math 2 teacher. We were not informed that the Math 2 teacher at his school quit and resigned in August, and found out he's sitting at a table in a hallway doing math through the virtual academy. Look, compensation is a big issue here, but we have to look at the numbers. If you look at compensation for North Carolina teachers and you include salary and benefits, the average pay is about $74,000 a year. I'm not saying our teachers don't need to be paid more, but as a school board, as Chris mentioned, the school board doesn't set the pay scale, the state does. We can supplement. Right now, Wake County does provide a supplement that's the highest in the state of about $8,000. But I don't believe that teachers are quitting because they are not paid enough necessarily. People don't enter public school teaching professions because they want to get rich. They enter public school teaching because they love kids. That's what I have found with all the teachers for my students. I think what we're seeing is a lack of discipline in classrooms. We're seeing teachers that are overworked. We're seeing teachers that are underfunded in school supplies, and we're seeing teachers that don't feel like they have admin support. I mean, I just saw a video yesterday of a teacher getting punched in the face in the gym at a local high school and had his jaw broken. If that's what's happening in schools and all of the other issues, then absolutely, if I'm a teacher and I'm looking at my paycheck and I'm having to deal with all these other issues, I absolutely am probably going to consider choosing another profession or moving to a different area. So again, I don't think the pay is important, but these people who are serving our communities as teachers, they don't do this because they want to be paid a lot of money. They do this because they love our kids. And when we pile on all these other issues that they're experiencing, that's what's driving them out of the profession that I've found in the teachers I talk to. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. We'll move on to the second question now. Capital expenses are paid for with local property taxes. Building new schools must be carefully considered due to the high cost of land and construction materials. Throughout Wake County, we have some schools that are under-enrolled and others that are overcrowded. What are your suggestions for how to best balance the school population and fully utilize our existing infrastructure? Chris, let's start with you.
Thank you. So growth and school crowding are big issues, especially in District 7. When I came into this office, this was one of the things that parents were talking to me the most about. We had schools that had more students in the building than the schools were designed to hold. In some cases, like Panther Creek High School, you had a school that was originally built for about 1,800 students, holding about 2,600 students. And that's something that's the result of not keeping up with school construction. As you said, school construction is paid for out of county funds, out of bonds, these capital investments that are made. They haven't kept up with our local growth. So we have to be as supportive of our school bonds as we can, and we also have to look at how we can maximize space in our schools. Particularly for District 7, I've been able to find work with local governments, our town councils, our county commissioners to find new land and build new schools. We've built the new Parkside Elementary School. We're building the new Parkside Middle School. On the Raleigh side of my district, we've built the Barton Creek Elementary School, and Morrisville has a new public early college through Wake Tech that is opened up this year. That's very exciting and innovative, and we'll be building Morrisville's first traditional high school as well. Getting this land, working these things out, especially in spaces where we have high property values, like in the northwestern Wake County area, takes cooperation, takes collaboration, and it's a lot of it has been the individual partnerships we've been able to make, negotiating with our local government partners to get the joint use agreements to make these new schools possible. This has been a top priority. It's been a campaign promise, but it's been a campaign promise I've delivered on. I'm very proud of my record on this issue.
Thank you, Chris. Jacob, you're next.
Thank you. Yes, population growth is a serious issue. School building is a serious issue. We've got another bond coming up on the ballot this November, after we just had another bond a number of years ago for school construction. It's an issue. We have existing schools that are not up to standards, I believe. I've got friends that teach at Durant Road. They're still dealing with kids in trailers there on a daily basis. I think we have on average about 60 people a day or a week moving to Wake County from other areas. Some of these people bring children with them, of course. We also have a declining public school population in this county. The school enrollment numbers are going down year over year for a number of reasons. but I think we're going to have to work with county commissioners on looking at approval of new development. If schools can't keep up, the county and the local governments are going to have to take a look at whether or not they can continue to just build and build and build to increase their tax base. I would suggest also utilizing existing buildings. We have a number of buildings in this county and in this district who are almost empty now, but due to pandemic and jobs shifting from going into the office to working at home. I think there needs to be some imagination used to look at some of these existing office buildings that maybe could be converted, so we're not shipping kids all over the district to go to different schools. I just think it's got to be more than asking for more money to build. It's going to take somebody with some leadership ability to bring everybody in and look at these issues and have some imagination on what we can do to best serve the families and students in this county as far as school construction and growth goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Katie, would you like to respond to that question?
Yes, thank you. And I agree with Jacob. Ever since we moved here from California, our family has been redistricted twice. And I chose to live where I am, but when the first redistricting, I had to move my daughter to a school that was 10 miles out. So every parent wants neighborhood schools. And who is making these assignments, and why is there an imbalance of enrollment? We have to ask ourselves that question. Coming up with new schools and building new schools, it's not a solution. It's not a long-term solution. So, and it goes back to poor leadership of our current school board. Why is there an imbalance of enrollment? As Jacob mentioned, enrollment is dropping. While it's great that students are enjoying the new schools, we have dilapidated schools with trailers that present learning environments that are not great for our children, and also a safety issue. So what happens to the schools that need improvement? Using the funds to improve the infrastructure of existing buildings. And it all goes back to what I said earlier, poor leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Third question. School board members are elected in a district, but they govern the entire school system. In your view, what makes an effective school board member, and what do you think are their key responsibilities? Jacob, let's start with you.
So effective school board member, as you mentioned, we are elected by district, but we do have to work together to govern the entire school district in Wake County. I think we need people who are willing to sit down, listen to all sides, put all options on the table, and work together to figure out what is best to advance the academic achievement of the students in this county. The majority of the power to do that comes from the approval of the budget. I believe we choose what we care about based on how we fund things as a society on all levels of government. That includes at a school board level. I am, regardless of some of the comments I've seen about me that I'm an extremist, I think you would find that I'm pretty even-handed and pretty able to sit down with anybody and at least talk even at school board meetings I've been to and spoken at. I think Mr. Hager would agree. I'm at least cordial and polite in my dealing with other folks at those meetings. I think for me personally, as a school board member, my number one job will be to do everything in my power to give kids the opportunity to excel with the amount of work they're willing to put in, and through family support and with support of teachers and administrators, to excel to their utmost at their academic abilities. And that's really my goal as a school board member. And whatever it takes to achieve that, that is what I'm willing to do. And those are people, if people have the same goals as me, I'm willing to work with them on that. We're not always going to agree. The current school board almost unanimously walks in lockstep. Every time there's a vote, there's no diversity of opinion on that board, it doesn't seem like, and I would like to bring a little bit there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Katie, would you like to answer next?
In addition to implementing firing the superintendent, school board member is also responsible for the budget. It is very important to me that the school board member should also listen to parents, engage with parents, and collaborate with parents and the community members. The collaboration between school board and parents is extremely important because parents should have a say in the children's curriculum. And I believe that an open door policy is really important to have that communication between parents and the school board, because after all, these children are their children, these parents. And so these parents should be very involved, should be surveyed, should be communicated to, and just have that open door policy between the school board and the parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Chris, would you like to respond?
Sure, thank you. I appreciate that. And I do want to thank Jacob for what he said there, because when he has come to our school board meetings for public comment, he has been polite and cordial and conducted himself professionally. And we do appreciate that, because that's how real dialogue takes place. And I also want to agree with him too, that it is about coming together, right? When you are on the board and you're representing the whole county, you have to make sure that everyone feels like they belong, that all of our students and staff and our parents are welcome, and that everyone is being listened to and everyone's being included. You don't do that by making inflammatory statements, right? You don't do that by coming to the board meetings, accusing board members falsely of atrocious criminal acts. All right, these are people that you will have to work with when you are on the board. And so when I see the conduct by some of the candidates coming to our board meetings and saying stuff that's just absolutely slanderous, libelous, not true, that's irresponsible. Now, I do want to go back and talk a little bit about, let me just, I want to keep this positive, and I want to keep this classy. I will say that as board members, we do have a lot of diversity of opinion. If you pay attention to our school board meetings, you'll see that we conduct a lot of our work in committees. We conduct a lot of our work in work session. We spend a lot of time, and there's a lot of debate working things out. But what we do is we try to get things as best we can to create consensus among different viewpoints before we bring them to the table for a vote. So you'll see Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated board members, we've all worked together very well over the past few years. It's just, there's a lot of work that goes into reaching that consensus, and that's an important skill for all our board members.
Thank you, Chris. Question 4. North Carolina ranks 39th in the nation for per pupil expenditures and 38th in teacher pay. In Wake County, we depend a lot on local funds to supplement the state's budget. Do you think our current school budget is adequate for the needs of our school district? Explain why or why not. And Chris, we're going to start with you.
Thank you. So it's well documented that our public schools are underfunded. This is not an opinion. This is not something that I've arrived at on my own recognizance. This is a fact that's recognized by North Carolina's Supreme Court in the Leandro decision. For decades, our schools have been underfunded. Particularly in the last decade, we've received, especially adjusted for inflation, less and less funding per pupil than we have historically. If you look at the money we get from the state, there are 115 school districts. We have one for most of the counties. There's a couple of smaller city and town school districts. Out of North Carolina's budget, we are ranked 114th out of 115 in money for Wake County students. We do get additional money from the county. Jacob had mentioned that. He was a little bit off. We don't receive the most generous supplement. We're about the 14th or 15th in terms of money per pupil that comes in. Total dollars, yes, but not when you divide it up among the number of students. we look at other municipalities, the municipalities we compete with for jobs, for economic development, they all spend much more per student. You know, we're spending about 60% of what Fairfax, Virginia spends. We're spending about 70% of Philadelphia, and about 80% of what Memphis spends. So we know that our students are underfunded. The Supreme Court of our state knows the students are underfunded. They've ordered the legislature to increase funding. The legislature has refused. Our county commission, because we live in a community that values public education, has spent local money, tax dollars, to help fund school operations to increase this funding. Over 95% of our school budget goes into the classroom, not for operations or administration. It takes a lot of money to educate our kids, but we still don't receive enough. Sorry for going over.
Thanks, Chris. That's fine. Jacob, you're next.
Yeah, so the funding issue, we always hear the response we hear when problems are arising in the school system or kids aren't performing or whatever it is, it's always we need more money. And every year this school budget increases. I would just say, you know, if we look, and it's not a complete apples to apples comparison, but if you look at what a private school charges for a student's tuition, let's say a Thales Academy, K through 5 is around $5,500 a year. So that's almost half of what Wake County is spending per student. And I would ask people to go and look at the academic performance of a Thales and what's coming out of there and what's happening in our Wake County public schools. Money can't always be the answer. I am not opposed to spending money and using taxpayers' money if we are getting the results that we're paying for. The problem is that's not happening. You mentioned at the beginning of this that we do have a 90% graduation rate. True, but then you have to go look at what the kids are actually learning under that and the performance that is underneath that. So again, the funding is always an issue. Everybody always asks for more money, and every time more money is given, we still have the same problem. So my question would be, how much money is enough? Is there enough money we can spend? Is there enough taxing we can do to our citizens in this county and state? 58% of the state budget already goes to education. Chris mentioned the number with the 95%. I think 90% of the school budget right now is for salary for staff and administrators. Where does this money come from? We're not exactly in the best of economic times right now. So it's going to take leadership, and it's going to take people who are willing to look at things and say, look, we can't always just ask everybody for more money without getting results. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Katie, would you like to answer?
Thank you. When data is being thrown out there, I always ask myself, who's ranking us, and who's actually doing the ranking, and what criteria are being used for such data points. And so Wake County is constantly getting 62 new residents coming into Wake County every day. I myself relocated here in North Carolina, Wake County, because of the quality of life and the educational and the economic opportunities here in Wake County. And so it's not, are we comparing ourselves with New York, Hawaii, states that have higher cost of living? Obviously, people are moving from those higher states to come here into Wake County for a reason, for economic and education opportunities. And so I don't think that's a good comparison. There's the per pupil expenditures are you know, pretty good here because of the low cost of living here in Wake County. I mean, you know, the money that's being used in our budget, 89% of our salaries and benefits in our budget aren't really being used towards our children's education. And so I'm not sure about, you know, I agree with the ranking and the data points that are being thrown out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, we're on to our final question now. School safety and security is a complex topic, with various organizations and interest groups tackling the issue from different angles. But clearly everyone is concerned about school safety. What is being done well by Wake County Public Schools, and what would you suggest is needed to improve school safety? Katie, would you like to start?
The school board did an assessment not too long ago regarding the safety of our infrastructure. While it's great, 90% of our teachers felt really safe. 75% responded to the survey. When we relocated here from California, having to check out my kids, there is a process. You got to be buzzed in. You got to identify yourself. That's great. But I think that what we are forgetting to, in terms of safety, is talk about the bullying issue in our schools. Are they being met? The policies, or do we have a zero tolerance for that? Are teachers being trained to act on a case when a bullying happens? Are actions being taken care of right there and then? Because as we had an accident or tragedy that happened at a middle school last week because a child was bullied. So in addition to just the physical infrastructure safety, we always talk about and address the bullying side of the issue, where our kids are being bullied, and our SROs, we can have more assigned to schools, and also as a proposal, I believe that for each SRO, they should form a team at the school that they are assigned to, and enlist recommended students, high school juniors and seniors, to help them identify the problems that they might hear amongst their peers. Thank you.
Chris, you're next.
Well, thank you. As Katie mentioned, school security is a very important issue. It's one that the school board has been working on for some time. We spent over a year, close to 2 years, researching the SRO issue. We've conducted this. We've had these national experts come in to audit all the security within our school. The audit concluded that we were doing a good job locally. There were important areas for improvement that needed to be made. Renovations to school facilities to improve safety, security, more controlled entrances. We also need to do a better job of seeing who is coming into the schools, where we can have identities verified, standardized across the district, being able to match those to sex offender registries, to registry law enforcement databases that run through SAS about finding those that might have a protective order against a member of the staff, or a member of staff or student that has a protective order from one of the visitors. SRO issue, we looked at this. There was a lot of debate, and what we found is that basically, whether they were parents, whether they were students, whether they were staff, SROs have an important role in our schools. We voted to renew our SRO contracts with Wake County Sheriff's Department, with the Raleigh PD, and then with all of our other municipalities in the state. There were things that we asked for. We wanted to see more training. We thought it was important. The SROs need to know how to de-escalate violent situations, employ non-lethal restraint, work with youth and adults, and also work with students with disabilities. Someone who's non-compliant because maybe they're on an autistic spectrum doesn't mean that they're necessarily being defiant. There's a lot to talk about with this issue. It is complex, but it's one that we've worked hard on to make sure we've kept our students safe.
Thank you, Chris. Jacob.
Yeah, so I want to thank Chris and the school board for renewing and coming to a memorandum of understanding with the SRO program over the last 2 years after their study. I would note that in 2020, he and other school board members were actively discussing either ending or changing the SRO program in schools. school safety, as I mentioned earlier, we put our money where we value things, and all of the other issues we've talked about mean nothing if parents, teachers, and students don't feel safe going into the school building in the morning. I personally think the SR program is important. I think there's an issue with too many different agencies involved. I think there needs to be some imagination on how we deal with this. I don't know that we absolutely have to have law enforcement in schools. We could just have trained security officers. Maybe they're not even out in the open. They sit in their own room in the school. They have monitors. They can respond as needed. There's a lot going on there. That study that Katie mentioned about school safety, 22% of the teachers in that study admitted that they hadn't even read their school's emergency plan. When I go drop my kids off at elementary school in the morning, the school is wide open and kids are coming and going from carpool and bus loading, and the doors are wide open. There's not one law enforcement officer. There's not one security personnel there. The only thing stopping somebody from going in, unfortunately, is our teachers and administrators at our elementary schools, unless the town or the city that elementary school is in have agreed to supply a security officer there or an SRO. This is a topic we've really got to look at. I'm not for trying to make our schools into prisons, but we have to deal with the fact that we don't live in a necessarily ideal world all the time. So I would definitely focus on looking at making sure we have the safest schools possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you to the candidates for coming today to participate in our virtual candidate forum. We recognize that running and serving in elected office is a considerable commitment of time, energy, and often sacrificed opportunities. The League, along with the residents of Wake County, is grateful that we have so many capable fellow citizens who are willing to step forward to serve the important duties as a member of the Wake County Board of Education. You have 2 minutes each to make closing statements. And Chris, could we start with you?
Thank you. And again, I think we are all united in our thanks to the League of Women Voters for providing this forum, for providing the services you provide with Vote 411 and your online voter guide, and helping get information out to voters about these important elections that are on, unfortunately, the bottom of our ballots when everyone goes to vote this year. Again, being on the school board, it's not easy. It is a lot of hard work. You're dealing with issues that really move people. You're talking about their children, you're talking about families, and even for those that don't have kids in our public schools, you're talking about their community, their tax dollars. And so we all need to be responsible stewards of all of these things. We have to look at what we can do and what we can do better. And I think there's a lot of things we've done in Wake County that we can be proud of. We do have a high graduation rate. Jacob said we should look at what goes into that graduation. Well, our graduates are highly sought after. We get more student aid offers than other school districts. Our students are widely recruited in colleges and universities in other states from Wake County because of the solid educational background we get. But we can do more. We need to do more in terms of academic achievement and coming out of the pandemic and really getting those students caught back up. And we have a wonderful high dosage tutoring program called Wake Together that we're promoting in the community to go in and really rebuild those important literacy skills for those second, third, fourth graders, fifth graders, those younger ones that are the fundamental building blocks of learning. Again, we have to build new schools because even though it would be great if we could just tell the county and the cities, stop allowing growth where we don't have available, where we have full schools, we can't do that. That's not within the jurisdiction of those municipalities. So we have to build schools where the growth are. Please visit my website, hegartyforschools.org, and learn more about what we can do to keep great schools in Wake County.
Thank you, Chris. Katie, would you like to go next?
Once again, I'd like to thank League of Women for hosting this forum. I'm committed and passionate about protecting our children. I'm no politician. I'm a concerned mom and that fearless mom who will advocate passionately for our children. I'm Katie Long, Wake County School Board for candidate for District 7. My website is longforchange.com. And like you, I long for change. I know you do too. I want to earn your vote. please vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And Jacob, would you like to give your closing statement?
Yeah, thank you very much for having this. I hope that the voters out there will take a look at this and really pay attention to the answers that they were given. You know, I'm no politician. I'm just a dad with 4 kids and am very concerned about the direction of this school board and the direction of public schools here in Wake County. Mr. Hagerty is he's a seasoned politician. He was appointed to the General Assembly by former Governor Perdue. He's been a former lobbyist, and he knows how the system works. I don't, as I said, I'm not a politician. I'm also the other candidate here, Mrs. Long. I'm a little concerned with what I've seen from her as far as some of her associations and some of her behavior at the school board. I'm looking to just bring back some responsibility and leadership and accountability. That's all I want to do. And if you don't like what happens in the next 4 years with me on the board, you can vote me out. That's what these elections are all about. I want to improve parent involvement. I want to make sure our students are funded, that we're financially and fiscally responsible, not heading towards a fiscal cliff as the current board has said itself that we are heading towards. I want to make sure that our teachers are fully supported, so we're not dealing with issues of teacher shortages and teachers wanting to leave this district for other districts. There's no reason in a county like ours that teachers should feel they have to leave for better opportunities. And I want to make sure our schools are as safe as they can be. As I said earlier, all of these issues that we talk about, they really don't matter if the parents and teachers and students don't feel safe when they pull up to that school building in the morning. So I'm Jacob Arthur. I'm running for District 7. My website is jacobarthurwakeschools.com. I would appreciate you taking a look at that. And feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. I'm always willing to talk to anybody that'll listen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As we end our forum, we would like to encourage you to visit our website, vote411.org, to learn more about the candidates on your ballot and to find out the latest information on polling place hours and locations, as well as early voting. Please make your own plan to vote and encourage other people to vote in the upcoming elections. Thank you again for joining us.